I remember the exact moment everything we thought we knew about warfare became obsolete. My name is Ven Kotal, and I serve as the primary military analyst for the Galactic Council. 23 cycles of service, countless species evaluated, endless reports filed. I thought I had seen it all. Plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, graviton disruptors. The usual song and dance of civilized destruction. Then humanity showed up and decided to weaponize nothing itself. The emergency session was called after 3 of our border patrol vessels simply vanished. Not destroyed. Not disabled. Vanished. One moment they were transmitting routine status updates, the next moment, silence. Complete and absolute silence. No debris field, no distress signals, no trace particles. It was as if someone had reached into reality and plucked them out like unwanted weeds from a garden. The council chamber was packed. Every major species had sent representatives. The Threxians with their 4 arms crossed in identical patterns of concern. The Morphids flickering between states of matter anxiously. Even the usually absent Corvinax had bothered to send a delegate, which should have told us all how serious this was. Grand Mediator Thros stood at the central podium, his scales shifting through nervous color patterns. "We have a situation," he announced, which was possibly the greatest understatement since the Vorbelian ambassador once described a supernova as mildly inconvenient. "The humans," he continued, and half the chamber groaned. Of course it was the humans. 300 years since first contact, and they had been nothing but predictable in their unpredictability. They ate foods that would kill most species. They kept predators as pets. They listened to something called rock music at volumes that registered as weapons testing on our sensors. But militarily, they had been unremarkable. Standard kinetic weapons, decent energy shields, adequate propulsion systems. Nothing special. "Show them the footage," someone called out. The holographic display flickered to life, showing deep space coordinates near the contested Vermilion sector. At first, there was nothing. Just stars. Beautiful, ordinary stars doing what stars do best, which is absolutely nothing interesting. Then the stars went out. Not exploded. Not collapsed. They just stopped being visible. A perfect sphere of absolute darkness appeared in space, roughly 5,000 kilometers in diameter. And it was moving. "What are we looking at?" asked Representative Quillox, her tentacles twitching with confusion. "That," Thros said grimly, "is a human warship." The chamber erupted in laughter. I will admit, I chuckled too. A ship made of darkness? It sounded like something from a children's horror story, not actual military technology. "Silence," Thros commanded, and his tone made the laughter die faster than a Rigelian ice sculpture at a plasma party. "This is not a joke. Watch what happens next." The sphere of darkness moved toward one of our patrol frigates. The frigate's commander must have been either very brave or very stupid, because they opened fire. Plasma bolts lanced out, brilliant streams of superheated matter that could punch through 3 meters of reinforced durasteel. They hit the darkness and vanished. No explosion. No impact. No effect whatsoever. It was like watching someone throw rocks into an infinitely deep well. Then the frigate fired its main cannon, a weapon capable of cracking a small moon. The beam entered the darkness and disappeared. "Okay," muttered the Corvinax delegate beside me, "that is mildly concerning." The darkness reached the frigate. For exactly 4.3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the frigate was gone. The darkness moved on, leaving empty space where a fully crewed military vessel had been moments before. "By the eternal void," someone whispered. "There is more," Thros said, which absolutely no one wanted to hear. "We sent a science vessel to investigate. They managed to get close enough for detailed scans before they wisely retreated. The readings make no sense. The ships are not invisible. They are not cloaked. They are surrounded by a field that literally consumes electromagnetic radiation. All of it. Visible light, radio waves, thermal emissions, everything. Dark matter manipulation, I heard myself say. They have weaponized dark matter." The chamber fell silent. Dark matter, the mysterious substance that made up most of the universe's mass but remained frustratingly undetectable and unusable. Every species had tried to harness it. Every species had failed. The mathematics alone required computational power beyond our most advanced systems. The energy requirements were astronomical. The risk of catastrophic failure was essentially guaranteed. Humans had done it anyway. "How many of these vessels do they have?" asked Representative Morthan, speaking for all of us. Thross changed the display. It showed a sector map. Dozens of dark spheres appeared, scattered across human-controlled space. "We estimate between 40 and 60 operational dark matter warships. They call them shadow-class carriers." "Carriers," I repeated. "Those things carry other ships. Apparently, the darkness can be selectively permeable. They can launch conventional fighters while remaining completely undetectable. Perfect ambush platforms." Someone in the back made a sound like a deflating balloon. I sympathized. "Why are we only learning about this now?" demanded Quillox. "Because," Thross said slowly, "until now, they have not used them. They have been testing them in deep space, away from populated systems. The 3 vessels that disappeared. They accidentally wandered into a training exercise." Accidentally. Right. I made a mental note to review our border patrol protocols. "And possibly retire. We need to respond," Morthan insisted. "This technology gives humanity an unacceptable strategic advantage." "Respond how?" I asked. "We cannot see them. We cannot shoot them. We cannot even detect them until they are practically on top of us. What exactly do you propose we do?" The question hung in the air like a particularly awkward dinner guest who will not take a hint and leave. The debate that followed was less productive than a Siltharian parliament session, which is saying something considering Siltharians communicate by changing colors and half of them are colorblind. Everyone had opinions. The Threxians wanted immediate sanctions. The Morphids suggested diplomatic negotiations. The Corvinax delegate proposed we simply pretend we had not seen anything and hope the problem resolved itself, which honestly was not the worst idea I had ever heard. Then the humans showed up. I mean that literally. One moment we were arguing in circles, the next moment every sensor in the council chamber started screaming. The defensive grid, which had never activated once in 3,000 years of council history, lit up like a festival celebration. "Proximity alert," shouted a technician. Something just appeared directly outside the station. The main viewport polarized automatically to protect our eyes, but I could still see it. A sphere of absolute darkness, floating there in space like a hole someone had cut in reality itself. It was massive. Easily 3 times larger than the one we had seen in the footage. "They are hailing us," someone announced, voice cracking with panic. "Put them through," Thross ordered, because apparently he had decided today was a good day to potentially start an interstellar incident. The holographic display shifted, and suddenly we were looking at a human. She was tall, dark-skinned, with hair braided in intricate patterns and eyes that held the kind of amusement usually reserved for adults watching children argue about whose imaginary friend was stronger. "Greetings, Galactic Council," she said pleasantly. "I am Captain Mara Okonkwo of the Terran Defense Fleet, currently commanding the TDF Eclipse. I believe you have been discussing our new ships." The silence in the chamber was so complete I could hear my own hearts beating. "Both of them." "Captain," Thross managed after a moment. "This is highly irregular. You cannot simply appear unannounced at council headquarters." "Technically," Okonkwo replied with a smile that would have made a Corvinax merchant jealous, "we were announced. Your sensors detected us. Eventually. We could have been here for the past 2 hours completely unnoticed, but that seemed rude." 2 hours. She was saying they could have been sitting here, invisible, listening to our entire emergency session. The implication hit the council like a cargo freighter hitting a planet. "What do you want?" asked Morthan bluntly. "Want?" Okonkwo looked genuinely surprised. "Nothing really. We noticed some of your patrol ships had an unfortunate encounter with one of our training exercises. We came to apologize and offer compensation for the crews. They are all fine, by the way." Little disoriented, lot confused, but physically unharmed. We will return them within the day. Return them? I interrupted. They are alive. Of course they are alive. What did you think we were doing, disintegrating ships for fun? Okonkwo looked offended. The dark matter field creates a temporary pocket dimension. Everything caught in it gets shunted into a holding space. Once we realized we had accidentally grabbed council vessels, we immediately shut down that exercise zone. Honestly, your patrol routes really need better documentation. Who flies through unmarked training areas? The entire chamber stared. Our missing crews were alive. The terrifying weapon that consumed matter was actually a fancy transportation system. Humanity had accidentally kidnapped our people while practicing. You built dimension-shifting warships, Quillox said slowly, as a defensive measure. Well, yes, Okonkwo replied as if this were obvious. You cannot shoot what you cannot see, and you cannot invade what you cannot find. Plus, the storage capacity is incredible. Each Shadow-class carrier holds approximately 5,000 fighter craft, complete support infrastructure, and crew facilities. All in a pocket dimension roughly the size of a small moon. Very efficient. Efficient. She called weaponized physics defying technology efficient. The energy requirements must be enormous, I said, because my analyst brain refused to shut down despite the absurdity. They are substantial, Okonkwo admitted. Each ship needs a dedicated fusion core array and dark matter collection system. Honestly, the maintenance is a nightmare. But compared to building thousands of conventional warships and trying to patrol everything, much more practical. Practical. Humanity had created invisible fortress carriers that could swallow entire fleets and called it practical. Why reveal this now? Thros asked carefully. You could have maintained the secrecy. Okonkwo's expression turned serious. Because secrecy breeds fear, and fear breeds stupidity. We have been watching the border tensions, the proxy conflicts, the posturing. Someone was going to do something phenomenally dumb eventually, probably aimed at humanity because we are the newcomers. We figured better to show you what you would be dealing with now, before things escalated. So this is a threat, Morthan said. No, Okonkwo corrected gently. This is a deterrent. There is a difference. Threats require hostile intent. We have none. We just want to be left alone to eat our dangerously spicy foods, listen to our unreasonably loud music, and occasionally break the laws of physics for fun. But if someone decides humanity looks like an easy target... Her smile turned sharp. Well, let us just say we have 47 Shadow-class carriers currently operational, another 30 in construction, and absolutely no interest in using them aggressively. But we will use them defensively. Enthusiastically. The chamber remained silent. What could anyone say? Humanity had just performed the most polite display of overwhelming force in galactic history. Your crews will be returned with full medical reports and our sincere apologies, Okonkwo continued. We will also transmit updated coordinates for all our training zones. We really are sorry about the confusion. Confusion, I muttered. She calls this confusion. Okonkwo must have heard me because she grinned directly at my position. Analyst Kotal, correct? Read your reports on Threxian military doctrine. Good work. Maybe you should write one about humanity now. Suggest titling it, Do Not Poke the Deathwelders, They Get Creative. The transmission ended. The sphere of darkness outside the station simply vanished, as if it had never existed. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Everyone talking at once, demanding action, suggesting responses, proposing countermeasures. I sat quietly, already composing my report in my head. The conclusion was simple. Humanity had just changed the entire balance of power in the galaxy, and they had done it by accident while practicing. Grand Mediator Thros finally restored order. This council will reconvene tomorrow to discuss our response to this development. Until then, I suggest everyone remain calm. Remain calm. Sure. Easy to say when your entire military doctrine had not just become obsolete. I left the chamber and headed straight for the nearest bar. Some situations required alcohol, and this definitely qualified. The bartender, a friendly Siltharian named Vex, poured me something purple and probably toxic. Rough day. Humanity has invisible warships that can swallow other ships whole, I said. And they apologized for it. Vex considered this. That sounds very human. It really does, I agreed, and drank. Somewhere in the darkness of space, 77 shadow carriers waited silently. Humanity had just announced their presence without firing a single shot. And everyone had gotten the message loud and clear.